Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here, and we're doing a beer review. We do this quite a bit. Lately, I've been doing Massive Beer Review Classics. I've never reviewed this beer before, but I guess some people will consider it a classic. I guess so. Not for me, but other people. Moosehead. I cannot tell you the last time I had a Moosehead lager. I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, to be perfectly honest with you. Probably in my 20s. I haven't thought about this beer in a very, very long time. But friend of the channel, Greg Corner. Kind of write it down because I'll forget. Especially when I'm doing these kind of on the fly. My brain starts to get all done. But Greg, anyway, he's a friend of the channel. Comments quite a bit about stuff. And he was commenting on, what was it, my Ommegang beer, and he was just talking about, like, you know, digging on that beer, loving other kind of summer crushers and stuff like that. And he said this is his summer go-to economical crusher. And it just kind of piqued my interest. I was like, you know what, I'm reviewing it now. I was like, that's awesome. I can't wait to actually review it. Well, here we are. I was at a place. I wasn't even looking for it. I was at a place and I was just scanning. I was like, Moosehead. I said I was going to review that. And honestly, I know nothing about the brewery. And so I come home here and I get set up for my little review here, and I go, let me just look and see who owns them. See what their lineage is. Like, are they Miller Coors, or are they AB InBev? Like, what is their parent company? Privately owned, still by the same company that founded the brewery, the Oland family. I did not know that. So we're not talking about macro beer, I guess. I mean, technically we are. Just privately owned macro beer, I guess, to a certain extent. Because, Moosehead has always been around. It's been something that's been readily available since I was younger. It was very much kind of like, not hoity-toity kind of beer, but people would be like, oh, you're drinking Moosehead, because it was a Canadian import. It's almost like a step above a Labatt is how people down here in the United States would view it. But like I said, I haven't had it in a very long time, and I'm really just curious about how it's going to be. Because, honestly, I'm kind of, like, oddly optimistic about it now, Greg's digging on it, independently owned, same family. So it says Moosehead Lager, 5% alcohol by volume. Canadian lager. Do I get a date on here? I get a batch code. I don't know if they're going to give me a date on here. You would imagine they would give you a traditional date just because it is, mass-produced lager. I don't see any on here. It says Moosehead breweries established 1865 or 67. Sorry, I don't know why I said 5. Fiercely independent product of Canada. It has a really nice kind of embossing. I love it when these kind of old breweries have this kind of embossing on it. Just says Moosehead quality and tradition. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Label's cool. I dig it. Very traditional, very old school. I know it's probably changed several times over the years, but something about it I kind of dig on. So let's see what's what. Give this a pour. It is Sunday. I had a very, very long weekend. My mother-in-law kept me out the past couple nights. Usually bedtime for me, or at least bedtime for my son, is very close to me just kind of settling down, not doing much. And they kept us out quite late, so I'm kind of taking it easy on this Sunday. Not gonna lie to you. You're sitting here, you're gonna talk about beer. You're gonna talk about what beer's supposed to look like. That is trademark. I am holding a beer-looking beer. I mean, this super expressive carbonation. Now, I will say, I wonder if this glass has an agitator in it. This is Spaten glass. If not, it's probably super agitated because I wash my glasses a little poopily out here. But it also could have that very champagne-y like carbonation. That's basically what we're getting on there. 2 fingers, infinite soapy, creamy foam to it. It looks all the part of what a clean, crisp lager should look like. Let's see him get a nose on her. That smells pretty nice, honestly. Super crisp, clean Pilsner malt, little touch of nuttiness to it, maybe. Not really much of any kind of bittering. Really, the impressive part here is the lack of negativity on the beer, more specifically from, like, either, a DMS or diacetyl, or more specifically, light struck. You're talking about these green bottles. They're not the best when it to keep light at bay. So my brain is almost trained when I'm drinking these Stellas and the Becks and those are the Heinekens of the world. I'm expecting a bit of light struck. And obviously that's more of a taste than anything else. but usually you get that skunky precursor of that late struck, and not really getting that here. You know, it ends up just being this hyper clean, nothing negative to say, poppy on the Pilsner malt side of things, nothing hyper aggressive, that little nuttiness, done and done. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Okay. I did not expect that. Like really malt forward. Like really malt forward. Like way more maltier than I was expecting it to be. You know, again, privately owned Canadian brewery. It's been around a while, so they're doing what I assume is what I actually, let me rewind it. I was assuming what they were going to be going for was what everybody else does. And it really comes off with a hefty amount of malt character compared to what you typically get from American macro lager. There is a soft bitterness to it, nothing crazy, probably a slightly elevated above your Buds and your Millers and your Coors of the world. Nice mouthfeel. It's not crispy. It's not level of sharpness, but it's definitely not flabby, definitely not dense. And this malt characteristic in here is very, very, very aggressive for its style in a very cool way. It's not aggressive in the traditional sense. You're talking about what I am saying is a Canadian macro lager. I assume is going to be much like an American macro lager, a la what I get from Labatt and stuff like that. But it really leans heavily in like a crackery, slightly nutty kind of maltiness here that is not shy. I mean, beautiful lacing on the glass. That doesn't suck, especially with how poopy I wash mine. That's not bad, man. That is not bad at all. The only thing I'd probably knock this for is honestly the 5%. It actually, and how do I phrase this? It actually drinks like 5%. Like it has a heft to it, that maltiness is a little bit bigger. Like I said, it's not ultra crispy, but it's not dense by any or any stretch of the imagination. So you kind of get, okay, I get that 5%, but it's like, you know, these kind of beers, I really do like them to live in that 4 or even sub 4%, like most of the other kind of macro beers. But this is honestly, surprisingly a very, very tasty beer. Like a very tasty beer. I can see myself drinking these. Now, when you're talking about, Greg was talking about, like it's a summer economical crusher, it's a markedly different beer to me than High Life. Like for me, High Life is much more drinkable, much more crispy. He mentioned Ginny Cream Ale. It's much different, but in the same vein as Cream Ale for me. Cream Ale is a chugger, but a different kind of chugger. Like Miller High Life is like, well, it's an all-time chugger, but more specifically a light yard work, do whatever, sweating kind of chugger. Cream Ale is kind of like hanging around with a bunch of friends, shooting pool kind of chugger. For me, non-manual labor kind of chugger. And that's where this one kind of lies for me, with that little bit of extra oomph to it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did that. I will buy more Moosehead, let's put it that way. I forget what I paid for it, now I'm kind of angry. So I got a couple beers. Didn't come out, it couldn't have been that much. I'd imagine it's gotta be, you know, sub 10 bucks a sixer. But I dig this. I think it's a fun beer. I think it tastes really well. It's epically well made. Nothing as far as negative off characteristics. I dig that bump and malt vibe, you know, and just having something that's a little bit bolder and a little bit more, not riskier, but a little bit more showy than what you get from a typical American macro. I think it's a really tasty beer. Yeah, we're done and done on this. This is a very tasty beer that honestly, next time I go out and about and I go to somebody's party and I just want to chugger, and let's say I go someplace and they don't have Miller High Life, it's not going to fucking happen, but let's say they don't, I wouldn't hesitate to pick this up. Or just as a kind of a change of pace, a little change up to the old fastball. Yeah, Greg, thank you very much for mentioning it, because I don't think I would have picked it up otherwise, and now it's kind of on my mind, on my radar. As something, if I'm looking for a, like he said, an economical, really well-made beer, you're kind of gonna be hard-pressed to find something markedly better than this. Truth, man. Sucks, I'd say it. Doesn't suck. There you go. So yeah, I don't know what is it one of the better lagers I've had? Is like, yeah, has a Mount Rushmore status? No, but in the macro world is one of the better lagers I've had as well. Yes, and then goes the Mount Rushmore status. I mean, he ain't beating High Life, but I mean, not that I drink a ton of macro lager, but it's in that category, yes, very much so. Value availability, like I said, I forgot what I paid. My guess is this is $7.99 sixer. That's kind of where these beers kind of land. If it's a little bit more because it's Canadian, whatever. Leave you with, if you like what we like this, if you like ribbon lagers, you want something more a la cream ale, something that has a little bit more character to it, rather than just straight up chugging stuff, that's where this beer kind of lives. Moosehead. Have you had it? That's a weird question because it's almost like, no shit, Sherlock. Of course I've had Moosehead. But have you? I mean, there's a lot of people who probably hadn't had this. Really curious to see what your experience is. What's your history with Moosehead? Is it something that you still drink, that you used to drink? Blah, 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 blah. I know a lot of people who end up coming into craft beer had their staple, like, macro beer. It could be very much, especially from our Canadian viewers, it could have been that for them. Have you been to the brewery? Can you visit the brewery? I don't even know. Do they have a tap room? I don't know. These are the things I need to know. All that fun stuff down there. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Moosehead Lager. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little Canadian chuggers right now. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.